This episode of Vic's Basement is brought to you by EB Games. Support us by buying your video games at EB Games. Welcome to my basement, everybody.
This is a big basement.
Very
today.
nice. I put some sand in.
Yeah.
Invited
my shoes, Vic.
Invited some dudes to work out, and I brought my my good friend Steve Tilley and Ben Silverman.
Hey, we're not going to be working out, though.
No, we're not working out.
no,
We instead will talk it out.
Yeah.
All about what's going on today in video games and what we're doing here in this. And spoiler alert, this actually isn't my basement. We're in Southern California. We're in LA right now.
Yeah, your basement's like the TARDIS, though, isn't it? Didn't we say
Yeah,
that?
it is.
Wherever we get in it, we can just wind up anywhere.
Absolutely.
And, there's no roof today. There's no windows or doors. It's just a big ass
None of
basement.
that smell.
No, because the basement represents. Thank you. Yeah, the basement represents kind of a way of life, a mode of thinking about nerd stuff. And-
Deep.
The
man.
basement represents a way of life.
Wow.
I've been telling ladies that for years.
That's right.
No. My basement represents a way of life.
Not a
That's why
basement,
I'm there all
ladies.
the time. It's,
No, you gotta feel it. Feel the basement.
Oh, they
Come
feel it.
down.
We're in the basement.
Look at those action figures.
Gross.
Yes. All
You
right.
guys are
Okay.
gross.
But we're in Southern California. We are nerding out. We are checking out all kinds of stuff that you'll be
Redacted,
hearing about
embargoed.
Yep.
in about a month.
Yep.
Yeah, we're very embargoed, but we are getting a taste of what is to come in video games in 2015. How are you guys feeling about video games in 2015? Ben.
I am feeling better
Yeah.
about video games than I did at this time last year, for sure. I mean, maybe some of this is just sort of a glow, an afterglow of 75 hours worth of The Witcher 3, which we'll be talking about at some point in the future, and I could talk about forever, but I really love that game. It's been a good year so far. If you look at Bloodborne, you look at Mortal Kombat,
Dying Light.
I
love Dying Light.
Ori and the Blind Forest,
That
and
too.
then The Witcher, and then we've got E3, and then we come back from E3 and we're playing Batman, and in
Batman.
between that we got Splatoon.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of good games in the
Already.
front half of this year.
Yeah.
And we can't talk about the things that we've seen this week, but there are some good things coming later this year, and I think this could finally be the turnaround, or maybe they're finally slowly coming
Yeah.
around, like they're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
They flicked on the turn signal,
Right.
and the hand is on the wheel,
Yeah.
and it's all about to
I
turn.
love this analogy. I'm really milking it to death.
Analogy Central. Analogy are us. Okay. Steve, are you feeling the same way? Are you optimistic about the games we will play?
Yeah, I really feel like we are at the beginning of the turnaround. I mean, some stuff's been pushed to 2016. We're not going to see The Division this year. We're not going to see Uncharted this year, but we are seeing, stuff like The Witcher, like Splatoon. We're going to have Batman when we get back. We're going to have Mad Max. We're going to have some good stuff coming this fall. We got Battlefront coming up. It's kind of like we're seeing the dividends pay off more in 2015. I mean, last year was a little bit of a little bit of a bust,
Yeah.
So finally,
a lot of bit of a
finally,
bust. Yeah.
there's some bright lights, and we're seeing some really ridiculously cool smaller stuff too.
Yeah,
that's
and it does feel like this sort of indie movement has been fully embraced and things have been realized, and there's still too many games, I think, to kind of wade through in terms of all of these mobile and bite size and things that aren't really worth the time type of titles out there. But great stuff is bubbling up. You and I just reviewed Crypt of the Necrodancer,
Necrodancer.
which blew my
Get me
mind.
Necrodancing again, man.
Unbelievable
Whoa,
game.
That sounds gross. Don't
It's-
do any necrodancing. Not good.
But this week we got a chance to play a little Metal Gear and play a little Batman, and
Yes, we did.
I had a reflection on that last night. I was like, holy crap, man! Any other year, those two games would just be enormous.
Yeah.
True.
And in 2015, when it felt like things may be starting to wind down a little bit for AAA, we certainly keep hearing buzz and rumors about that stuff. To get those two specific titles and a whole lot more feels awesome.
And I think what's also awesome about it is like, I don't know about you guys, but I get a little tired when I think of all these franchises and like another Batman. And I'm sorry, but seriously,
It's okay.
It's like
You're never invited back in the
I
basement.
know. You've uninvited me so many times after my Batman comments. But no, seriously, right? Like, another this, another that, the same franchises over and over again. But there is something exciting about them appearing on these new platforms and actually using the power. And it's been like these platforms have been out for a while now, so it's hard to remember that like this is the first time Batman's going to be on the new gen consoles. Like this is really, and they're going to do a lot more with it.
Yeah.
And it's easy to forget that like, oh, they haven't put one out yet on the PS4, Xbox
Yeah.
One. So I'm excited about seeing what they're going to do with these new, versions of old games on the new systems. That's always cool.
This is the year we're finally leaving the last gen behind. We're not tied to the cross-platform titles.
Right.
You know, it's all next gen. And yeah, like you said, that's finally letting the devs unleash the power of the systems that we kind of were promised when we first bought these things, like way back.
Yeah,
you know?
and look, The Witcher 3, man, like that's a big, gnarly, beautiful open world game that you kind of couldn't do on last gen systems.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what Bethesda is going to be bringing out. When you think of Skyrim, right? That was on an old system, man.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with
Yeah.
this power? If The Witcher can pull this off, what are we going to see? Like the more, right?
Yeah.
You're turgid.
turgid.
You're turgid. It's like the middle of the day and you're already turgid.
Well, tell me what turgid means.
It means engorged.
Okay, go ahead.
So gross. God, you've necro danced. You're turgid. It's a beautiful day. You gotta find some new words, man.
You know, maybe what's happened a little bit too is that the AAA, obviously, at this stage, it means a whole other thing that AAA meant last generation. It just means, 40% more art or 50% more coding or whatever it means. It means bigger teams, bigger investment. And maybe what's happened is that all of these other avenues, these indie studios and these mobile studios that have kind of erupted from the shakeup that has happened over the last 10 years, maybe who's ever left is the best that there is in making AAA. Maybe these are the people that just really are killing themselves to build us the best stuff, and the AAA that we're going to get now is going to be, it's sensational.
I kind of miss it's like getting rid of the middle class, right?
know.
Like we've only got the really, really big studios and the really small studios, and the small studios are doing cool stuff, and we're seeing ridiculous stuff from the big studios. But I kind of miss like those sort of second tier games.
THQ and
Yeah,
Midway
and they're just
and-
not viable
they're
anymore.
gone.
They're not around anymore. They're all gone.
Yeah. No, it's really, it kind of does mirror what it's like living in America. You've got people, you got the 1%, you got the rest of us at the bottom here trying to scrap for like a spot on the App Store.
Yeah.
And that can be depressing, but when you start to see, like these companies that are actually still around and putting this talent to use the right way. What's disappointing is that because maybe they're more concerned about making that great game, they're taking longer, they're pushing things back further and further. Like my most anticipated game of the year, as I think everyone's is No Man's Sky, which I was so stoked about last year. Chances of that thing actually making it out this year, guys, I don't know, man. I'm like, maybe 50% at best that they're going to not push that thing,
Well, that's a weird game, though, because that's a small game from a small team, but now it has enormous expectations and tons of pressure,
yeah.
right?
Support though. I mean, the support's there too, and you got to hand it to Sony. I think they're doing a better job than anybody else at taking these small gems and giving them, getting them out to a wider audience than they might have otherwise got. But I don't know. I don't really see No Man's Sky as being the kind of the first party big one that you guys think it is. I think
Well,
it's going to be.
it doesn't have character, right? And that's a problem when you look at a broad audience. Like, how do you market that thing? Like,
Yeah.
how you put like a
Like
fake,
its own
a dinosaur,
personality.
like
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah.
There's nothing to really. It's just like a kind of pink and purplish hue with a spaceship.
It's the environment that's the character, and that's
I
always
think
tough.
it's
hard
going to
to
be
sell.
amazing.
Yeah.
I think it is going to be hard to sell. It's going to be hard to get people invested in the game who don't know what it is. We know what it is. We're super stoked for it.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge segment of the public out there who don't know what it is. I think that's why Sony being behind games like this is so important. I mean, it's fantastic. They're going to push it. They're going to market it. They'll make people understand what it is.
Yeah, we all got into this business based on the allure of the big expenditures and the big titles, the big names and the big brands and stuff like that. And it does feel like focus has shifted back from the companies that want to stay in that space into some really massive things, but they are all tried and true brands. They're all properties that have kind of proven themselves over time, and they will continue to be big. But I think what also has happened is that this indie wave has almost exhausted itself in some ways in terms of like coming out with side-scrolling, super fun thing. Not saying that we're not going to get more of those kinds of cool games, but I do feel like what's happening with indie is that they're rightfully going to get bigger. Some of these successful studios, like the Capybara guys, I think are going to start to get bigger, and they are going to get into the mid-tier indie space, and
Yeah.
they're going to be building us
Right, okay.
the middle class, I
They'll
think,
be the
right now.
new middle class.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think that they're going to come with interesting design concepts and probably a lot more 3D, and I think No Man's Sky kind of exemplifies that as well, a lot more kind of 3D design.
And you know what else is interesting? You look at companies like Epic
Yeah.
or Harmonix, who used to be sort of tied and tethered to other publishers,
Right.
who are now self-publishing.
Yeah.
And they sort of now maybe are that middle ground, right? Fortnite or games like Rock. I mean, even though Rock Band is obviously a huge brand, they're not making Rock Band under the EA umbrella anymore.
Yeah.
They're on their own. They're
Yeah.
like partnering with Mad Cats. Like they're just going to try to do this thing themselves.
Yes.
And that's kind of the new kind of whatever fake indie, right? They're
Yeah.
not indie because they've obviously have these brands that have powered them for a long time. Epic is certainly not indie,
Yeah.
but they're also not really a major. They're not Ubisoft or EA or a major publisher. What are they? Are
Yeah.
they that mid-tier too?
Yeah, well, and then there's also these Kickstarter indie developers that are out there right now, like Igarashi, who's got the new Castlevania-like. It's Bloodstained, I think is the name of it. And there's a lot of back and forth between indie developers that are feeling that some of that Kickstarter focus and spotlight is being shifted to these people that already are stars, that already could be getting funded in a different time, maybe, but now they're getting overfunded, like the Banjo-Kazooie, what's it called, Layla and the ukulele. Yeah, I feel, and when I read that, it's like, yeah, sure. I think that if you are fully, starting from scratch and you're a very small developer and you go up to Kickstarter, you're not going to get the quadruple funding and budgeting that these things are. And I think it was on Polygon, I read a great article about the fact that that's not even the budget, even when they get to 5 times the scope of what they're asking for, that's not even going to be the budget.
Our friend Ben Kuchera wrote a great piece about that, and that's really true. I mean, like, you look at, I guess the $500,000 that they got for that Bloodstained, and it's like, that's nothing. That's a fifth of what they need to make this game. Not even, right? A tenth of what they need to make this game. And you're like, well, why are you even taking that money, right? When there could be going to places that, like, Shovel Knight, or a game like FTL, which was a Kickstarted, 100% Kickstarted game that was inventive and new and great and would never have happened if it didn't have the crowd support. And these other guys are like, well, we don't know where to get the money anymore. The money's not accessible.
They're gaming the system, but I also feel like maybe Kickstarter has jumped the shark a little bit too.
It's a Kickstarter though, right? It's a barometer of how much people are interested in it. If people are going to pay up front for your game, you can proceed with that. I don't. There has been a lot of gaming of the Kickstarter system. I think it's broken in some ways, and I think people are losing faith in it. But I do think it's also the place where you can at least say, I have this great idea. I don't have the money to get it going. Were you interested enough to actually give me money if I can make this happen? And if people say, yeah, and then you get your first $500,000. That gets you going. Then you maybe find a publisher. Then maybe, I don't know. But I mean, I don't think we should hold Kickstarter against them. I think it's. I think a few failures have kind of tainted it a bit, but I think it's serving a really valuable purpose.
And clearly people are wanting to back stuff that they really believe in, like Pillars of Eternity we reviewed not too long ago. Really cool game, really fantastic that got the Kickstarter support that it needed. I think Crypt of the Necrodancer was also a Kickstarted thing. I still believe in the concepts of it, but I think like anybody out there, there's sort of a skepticism now about some of these pitches and some of these ideas.
And there should be. There should have been from the beginning. But now we know sort of not everything that lands at Kickstarter is going to work. Not everybody's got the best intentions, but at least we're seeing some really good stuff come out of it.
Well, it's also turned into a difficult task for journalists. Because I don't know about you guys, I get flooded with Kickstarter email pitches, and it's like, here's a name you maybe recognize, here's maybe a brand that maybe you heard of 30 years ago,
or here's a genre that hasn't been done.
Here's a genre that someone likes, and like, hey, can you get the word out and support the Kickstarter? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing your job for you. Like, my job isn't because you sent me a press release. Like, there's no, you need to have some gravity there to be able to kind of say, well, here's why you should check this thing out. So I do like when I get a game demo. Excuse me. I do like when I get a game demo from a Kickstarted game and it looks great, and then I can kind of say, this looks cool. Like, check it out.
Yeah.
I've never
like
actually.
Mighty Number 9. That whole thing was awesome.
That looks great. Like I never have contributed to a Kickstarter. I've never given a dime to any of them because I feel like it's just weird for me to start paying for development.
I have a little bit, and I've been burned a little bit too. So I'm starting to be a little hesitant about it right now.
I don't know if I ever would, just because it feels like I'm supposed to cover the thing, and I start to have some sort of interest in it if I'm paying.
Yep.
But I agree with you guys. I don't think every Kickstarter game is a disaster and a bad idea. But I do think that they're learning that this system is not without some serious flaws and problems, and it's started to. It not only infringe on the ability for these companies to get these games made, but it's starting to affect the broader games industry, because now you're like, well, Kickstarter games are kind of put in the category of being this lame kind of smaller little kid brother.
Yeah.
And then there's the AAAs, and it's kind of segregated the industry even further.
Well, I think what's happening, and we're kind of working this out as we're talking about it, but I feel like the middle class is self-defining. I feel like that sort of mid-tier product that used to be a Midway game or a THQ game or even a Konami game or something like that, and all of these companies have kind of shifted away from consoles or have publicly come out and said that their whole business alignment has changed from the last generation. But people still want to build games that end up at that level. They're kind of saying and putting their flag in the sand, saying that we are that mid-level. We are that. You guys missed 3D platformers. Well, the guys that made Banjo-Kazooie are back, and we're going to build our own 3D platformer. And I think if you have enough of a track record with releases like that, you're back in the game at that mid-tier level, at that $20 price point or $30 price point.
I guess the thing that bums me out a little is like this idea, like the guys who made Banjo-Kazooie, they're back. They're going to make another one.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm sorry. I don't need another one. There's nothing wrong with a 3D platformer, but like.
Yeah.
The future of our industry is not to just redo things we did 25 years ago and just be stoked about like, hey, great, we did another one. Like, remember when we were all like, don't make any more 3D platformers?
Yeah.
I don't need another furry fucking guy with a hat
Or
like and a
2D side
skateboard.
scrollers.
Yeah, I don't need to collect any more fucking coins and fruit and jump on a mushroom. No more. I'm done.
But the future of the industry then apparently is collecting toys instead. Like we saw a lot of
Yes.
the toys to life stuff
Yeah.
this week. We saw, new
10
Disney
out of 10 on the
Infinity.
fucking
We saw
segue
some,
there. That was
some
Yeah.
Lego Dimensions. Thank you, man. I mean, it's we gotta pivot a little bit and work some of the stuff in here. But I'm wondering when this is going to reach the saturation point. I mean, some companies are doing it right.
Yeah.
I think some companies are going to find out they're not doing it right. And I don't know, but I don't want to see toys be the future of video games.
But this is the thing, though, is and this is in the case of Disney Infinity. I think specifically, I think they nailed it on the toys, not so much on the game to begin with. And they keep iterating and they keep improving and tweaking. And theoretically, the third kick it is going to be pretty phenomenal because they're going to have all of this new action and all of these new partnerships and all of that stuff. They can fund these games by the value of the toys, and I think that's the amiibo concept is really paying off for Nintendo in some pretty substantial ways. I think that they're having this new revenue stream that's going to finance a whole bunch of new development and new tweaks and stuff, and I think that's going to be true if the toys sell. So it almost feels like these game companies that are doing this toys to life thing, if they know they've got a hit with the toys, it will eventually circle back to more interesting games, which makes Skylanders all the more of a marvel that this was unproven territory with original characters, and they still sold.
I still feel that Skylanders is the most impressive of these companies because not only are they, still making, I think, what are the best games, right? I think they make better game than Disney Infinity. Amiibo, they don't have separate games. It's just like a character unlock, right? But I think it's just a miracle that they've been able to continue to create brand new monsters over and over again with some kooky new idea. Now that talks to you. Now, who knows what the next one's going to be? I've heard rumor mill is vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
I heard. So now you got to buy a car and stick your dude in it. I don't know how that's going to work, but they keep coming up with crazy ideas. That's an amazing company, Toys for Bob, the guys who developed that game.
Yeah.
They have really deep gaming roots going all the way back to
What an ironic name for a game company, too.
Toys for Bob. Toys.
Yeah, ultimately. Yeah.
I mean, those guys made, Archon back in the day. Star Control, my favorite game. I mean, this is an amazing company. What Disney's done and what I think Lego's going to be doing with their thing and what Nintendo's doing, they're just trying to figure out how to kind of turn their property into this cash cow, and they're doing it. They're doing a good job of it. I would never have called it. I would have said they would have failed.
Yeah.
They're doing an okay job of it. I mean, I don't like the maybe because I'm not a kid. I don't have kids, but I don't like the amount of focus being placed on these things. I do think Disney is finally getting a handle on, like you're saying, like the third iteration of Disney Infinity is looking more like a game now.
Yeah.
It's looking more like a game that I would actually want to play. And they've had the toys from day one. The toys look great. The figures look great.
Yeah.
But now everybody's like hitching their wagon to this horse now. And I don't know. I just feel like there's got to be a point where we say, okay, toys are awesome. Let's put out toys. Let's do toys to life. But let's not forget we're also building games and building gaming experiences, not building games for the sake of being a way of selling toys.
I think this has got to be it, though. I don't think there's another company that would look at this field and go, oh, look at this. It's a huge exploding thing. We should do a toys to life
I don't know.
thing.
Blizzard couldn't come in
Yeah,
and make
man.
some Warcraft
Could they
dudes.
ever?
I mean, there's
Right,
yeah, right there.
All right,
boom.
touche.
That's right.
Yeah.
Put my foot down.
And it would be for collectors because that's more of an adult audience, and that would be a whole new category. I would actually love that.
Wait a minute. If Warner Brothers was like, we got a new idea, guys. It's called Batman Toys to Life. You're telling me you wouldn't collect them all? Like, here's your Joker, here's your Firefly, here's your Nightwing.
I think this is a whole thing missing in the category. Actually, I told the Disney Infinity people I love the figures. I think they're awesome, and I would love double scale, and I would love some articulation, and I would love a vehicle line because that whole art style is such a rad departure from the sort of traditional look of a lot of these characters, and to have that uniformity and also some flexibility would be awesome.
Did you know they actually sell other kinds of Star Wars toys?
No,
or
I
figures?
know,
Did you
but
have you heard?
No, Vic has no idea. Vic doesn't. He
But
doesn't have any
this
toys.
is the thing about toy collecting. I'm such a nerd for toys too. Is that it's just like comic iterations or character or creator type of interpretations of these things. The different sculpts and the different models and the different designs all play into the collectability. And I love the Disney Infinity look.
But you're not interested in the game itself, right? You're saying, like, and I understand that you love the figures, but you don't really care about the game.
I'll
right?
play the game. I had a good time with the Marvel one, and I'm expecting that I'm going to dig flying the Falcon and getting into lightsaber battles quite a bit in the new Star Wars stuff. But I've also played a tremendous amount of great Star Wars games, and we're going to get hopefully a fantastic one in the new Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah.
So and it's kind of ironic that we're going to get Battlefront and this in the same year, because hopefully Battlefront.
Space combat.
Hopefully it's true, right?
It's not the one you think.
Yeah,
Right.
which is crazy, but hopefully most of Battlefront just wipes the floor with the gameplay of Infinity. But it would be hilarious if Infinity ends up being more fun than Battlefront.
Well,
right?
I think these Toys to Life games, they're not. The problem I have with them, the problem I think we're all starting to have with them, is they're starting to mirror that free-to-play gating model, where
Right.
the
Yeah.
reason why you got to buy those toys isn't because they're awesome and they look cool.
Right.
It's because you gotta, if you want to get past this thing,
Yeah.
you got to go buy the thing,
Right.
and it's awful and
you got to
evil.
buy characters you don't even care about.
Yeah.
That
Right,
sucks,
just
yeah.
so you can open up some stupid path.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I'm concerned that we're going to see more of that. The Lego game's doing this. We can't talk about specifics. We do know that it's out there. We know it's a Toys to Life game.
Yeah.
But how are they going to incorporate that? And
Yeah.
then what other companies are going to come in and just try to keep pawning off these action
Like you said, if Blizzard did that, imagine Diablo 4. If you want to have a certain character class, you got to buy the figure for that class. And you know what? I would do it then. I'd be an idiot feeding this horrible system.
I know. It's
Yeah,
frustrating.
but you know what? I mean, this is my argument around toys and why I talk about them all the time. We're moving into digital, media of all form. I mean, just having books or DVDs or CDs or game cartridges or whatever, or discs, it's all sort of fading away, whether we want it to or not. And the last vestige of being able to physically connect with these things that we care about is going to be action
Do
figures
you
and
guys
sculpts.
I'm interested to hear from you guys. What do your shelves look like? Your game shelves? Because mine is super sad now.
Yeah.
Like I have all my Xbox 360 games still up
Yep.
because there's like a trillion of them. But my little area with Xbox One and PS4 and Wii used to, it's like there's like 20 little discs,
Yeah.
and now and I have this shelf space with nothing on it.
I'm the same.
Sad.
I'm the
I'm
same.
sad. I don't want any more codes.
I have a mini shelf that's actually in my basement that is like my to-play shelf. The stuff that I'm going to reach for, for the most stuff that I'm going to go back to, and it's like my whole library of PS4 and Xbox One and Wii U is up there. I don't have to find it anywhere else. It's all right there, And I could never have the PS3 or Xbox 360 live like that.
My game shelf are the 1 terabyte drives I bought for my consoles, right? And it makes me sad. I mean, I grew up with the old school, like the Ultimate games. I remember when the Ultimate games came in a box with a cloth map and these books of lore, and you would
Yeah.
sit on the toilet and read your spell book and your lore book, or wherever you want to do it. But
no,
I mean,
you
I
can only
miss-
do it. You had to do it on the toilet.
I miss the fact that we don't have these sort of ancillary materials that come with games anymore. So like maybe the figures are feeding that, but man, I would be way more interested in buying like a book of, well, I don't want to use Destiny as examples. It's a bad example, but maybe a
Yeah.
book of like Bloodborne lore or something that delves into the world. But this stuff used to come with games.
You
It used
can.
to
You
have-
could just spend $120 on the collector's edition and you get all that crap.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate thing is either you're getting like a download code
Yeah.
or you're getting like some gigantic thing with fucking statues
figure
and
you
stuff
got
that
no
you're
room
like, I
for.
just wanted, like, I just miss a game disc. And the other reason I miss it is exactly what you're talking about. Man, I've got so many codes, and I know this is like first world problems, right? Reviewer with all these download codes.
Yeah.
But it's become an issue. I got to take stuff off my machine. I got to delete and add it. I got to get a new hard drive. I got to get a hard drive for all 3 systems. It's like a shitty computer.
Yeah.
It's a shitty computer.
Yeah.
It's impossible to manage that data.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
love...
the Wii U has got I've got an external drive plugged into that, and I've packed both the Xbox One and the PS4 hard drives.
If you're an avid gamer, you're going to do that quick. I mean,
Yeah.
these are 50 gigs for each game.
Easy,
and
yeah.
That's 10 games. There you go. You're done. Like,
and
now you got to
it
go buy
hurts
a
to
thing.
delete them because downloading them again is
It's going to take forever.
Yeah.
In 10 years from now, what happens if we want to revisit those games? Because they're
Yeah.
gone, man. They're
Yeah.
not on the servers anymore. We don't have. I mean, we've got these libraries of
Yeah.
PS2 and PS3 and Xbox 360 titles. Moving forward, though, we we can't go back. Like if I decide I want to pull my console out of the closet 10 years from now, like I do now with my Dreamcast,
Yeah.
how's that going to work?
So I still tell people to buy the physical. I still tell people to buy the disc because it's worth it just specifically for that thing, and also you're packing up your hard drive. And then there's tons of indie things that just won't warrant the physical release. That's what should be filling up your hard drive.
Right, and these should be games that are like 1 or 2 gigs,
Yes.
and that's it. And you could put 500 of them on
Yeah.
your system.
Yeah.
You know, like that's great. But
It's
yeah.
sad that those might disappear, though, right? You know, unless there's some kind of archival system.
Well, that's another interesting conversation
Yeah.
is about archive. That's a big issue going on
Yeah.
right now. People are talking a lot about that with online games. With if you have a server, we had this discussion last night with some other folks about what happens to a game like World of Warcraft. Like, how do you archive that when they shut off the servers? If they ever shut off the servers, which eventually they will,
Yeah.
is it illegal for me to start a server so that I can kind of preserve the game,
Right.
preserve characters and how this game works because it's so requiring.
Yeah.
You have to have a server to play it. Does Blizzard own that? How long does Blizzard own that until they can let go of it? Am I allowed to do that just for preservation? It's an interesting conversation, and we're getting into this digital age where it's no longer just I have my Atari 2600
Yeah.
and my Space Invaders cartridge, and that just exists forever.
Well, and it feels like the way that the video game industry has kind of accepted and taken in the internet for its for much of its gaming is not really with a lot of foresight and a lot of kind of anticipation of what will be good for the consumer and also good for the preservation of the cultural qualities of the medium. Like there should be a lot more thought about all of this stuff, and a lot more kind of working together to kind of figure all of this stuff out. Consumers should not lose the rights to software that they purchase the rights to based on hardware breaking down.
I mean, that extends beyond games. I mean, what happens to my iTunes library if I got, if Apple hit the wrong button? I mean, or
Yeah.
if I deleted my stuff, is it gone? Do I lose the music I paid for? I mean,
true.
it's a
Yeah.
scary future.
Yeah, and there are games that are deleted off of the App Store all the time that you can't download again.
Yeah,
or
right.
apps or whatever. Yeah.
It's a strange new reality, man. Hey, speaking of reality, do we care about VR? Are we caring about VR from what we're seeing now? Because it's imminent. I mean, Oculus is going to drop something, late this year, early next year?
First, I just want to. That's like a 7 out of 10 segment.
Yeah.
That was really rough. I was like, wait,
I
where
had
are
a
we?
lot to work with.
It was pretty good.
It was a big shift. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I would even give that segue a 7 out of 10. That was probably a 4.5.
I'm just being that you're here.
You guys both try. I didn't want to crush the spike, so I didn't try the VR game.
Can we
that was
talk
here.
about
come
that
on.
for a minute? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait
Come
a
on.
minute. When are you going to finally
At home.
trade your fucking hair
No,
for VR?
I'm not going to put
experiences?
VR on in public. I'm not doing it. So if anybody's coming up to me and saying, "Here, try on some VR," I'm not going to I see the
That's right.
I see the dudes.
The life
that-
of one of the most influential game journalists in the world. He won't try the thing
I'll
on
do it at
because of his
home.
goddamn hair.
I see the guys that come off of the thing. They got half their hair up like this, and I don't
Wear
want
a
that.
hat. Be a hat guy for
No,
a day.
I'm on TV. Nobody wants to see me wear a hat.
Nobody wants hats on TV.
I know. What fool would do that? Yeah, I had a long
No,
night,
I think
guys.
about that for sure. But whatever, man. You gotta feel confident that you can be in front of the camera
You
afterward.
can't even partake in the conversation about VR.
No, not yet.
Because of your hair. This is about your hair. This is about your ego. Is what this is about.
That's my
Lucas.
ego. I'm on TV, for Christ's sakes. All right, leave me alone. All right, I'm very sensitive. Okay, so but
Theoretically, from what we've seen, what
Yeah.
we saw this week, we had a little taste of this week. We're going to see more of at E3.
Yeah.
Are you getting more? Are you getting more hyped for VR?
I want to try it at home. I mean, I watched
some.
somebody play a game with the thing, and I played the non-VR version of it and had a good time. We can't talk about what it is. Actually, we can say what it is. It's a drift. And we can't really talk about our experiences with it. And the VR version looked like it would be totally rad. You guys played the VR version?
I've played it a couple times,
Yeah.
the VR version of that game, and I played both the VR and the non-VR
Yeah.
this week. I'm stoked on VR as an experience. I
Yeah.
think it's a great experience, and I think you don't get that experience. It's impossible to sell. It's impossible to explain to people why it's great. This is going to be its big challenge, and its price point is going to be its big challenge.
Yeah.
I don't think people are going to want to. They got to upgrade your computer.
Yeah,
You got to have some
significantly.
serious specs to run an Oculus Rift.
You got to
You're
put
gonna
a
have to-
strap right over the middle of your head,
Gotta
which will crush all your
crush your
spikes.
spikes.
That's right. You can't be on television if you intend to play with a Rift. No, but I mean, but these are really big obstacles.
Yeah.
Price point, just for the unit itself, upgrading your computer, and then actually explaining to somebody, having somebody experience it. You have to strap the thing to your head.
Yeah.
And you just can't talk to somebody about this.
Yeah.
And it requires a certain kind of experience. I'm worried that we're going to see some developers kind of trying to force their games into VR rather than creating games around the VR experience. I think Adrift is a game that works really well as a VR
Because
experience.
it's all slow motion,
Yeah.
kind of getting through space kind of thing.
But
right?
not everything will. I don't think shooters will. There's a lot of game experiences that won't, and
Yeah.
we're going to see people try to shoehorn this stuff into VR, and it's going to be shitty. And people are going to say, "This is shitty. Maybe VR is not really the next thing."
Yeah, I heard a guy that was working on a game that takes place underwater, and there are some fairly quick movements in the thing, and,
Oh, yeah.
and they said putting a VR helmet in the middle of that would make people sick because you're whipping around very fast, and there's no, vertice or whatever. There's no sort of like gravitational kind of balance there, so it would just be a little
It
nauseating
was
for
like
people.
playing Descent years ago. and
Yeah.
you're just kind of throwing up all
Imagine
the time.
Descent in VR.
Yeah, it's exactly
Oh my
right. Like,
god.
you just hurl everywhere.
Oh my god.
But I mean, look, for as many lame ideas as there are going to be,
Yeah.
most of the experiences I have had, the lion's share of them, have been transformative. I mean, have been really, really cool. I mean, the Morpheus stuff that I saw at GDC this year was awesome. The Deep, the thing with the shark, crapped my pants, crapped them. Full on crapped them. First time, 20 years, crapped my pants. Had a little shark, had to run to the bathroom. I'm like, sorry, shark and shark.
Put
That's
that
what
on your
happens.
box, Sony.
That's right. Crap my pants. Your shark made Silverman shark.
It'll make you shart.
It'll shart. You'll shart all over your Morpheus. I mean, it was terrifying. It was a 20-foot-long great white eating through a cage to chomp me to death.
Right.
It was insane. And I wrote about it, and I sounded like a maniac,
Yeah.
like a crazy ranting town crier. Like I did not. It was so hard to say. Like, and I looked to the side, and then it was the fin, and then here his face was right here. It's when you're sitting there with this thing on your head that you're like, this is a totally new game.
It's fully
this is a totally
experiential.
new experience.
Yeah.
And I just have no idea how these companies are going to get that message across.
Now, I admit that I'm a neophyte and I haven't jumped into this stuff at all, but from the outside looking in, I'm a little more excited about HoloLens than I am with VR, because I feel like it's something that you can share with other people. You're not as closed off. It's not as tight and personal.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, the full extrapolation of what 3D was promised to us back in the 50s. This feels like you can actually have objects come out of 2D space into 3D and you can manipulate them.
Have you experienced it yet?
No.
Have you?
No.
You?
Yeah.
No, I've not.
No. So they've been very.
Maybe we will soon.
I think at E3 we will. But from all of the demo stuff and all of the talk around it, I feel like, there's room for both. But I feel like the idea of HoloLens is a little more exciting to me.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see, I think, VR and augmented reality fuse ultimately into one thing. But I don't know. I like the idea. I like the concept of AR gaming, but I'm not really sure that's going to be something that I'm going to want to sit in my living room and play Minecraft on my coffee table. I'm not really sure what the experiences are that I want to have in my own home with stuff coming out of the walls. It looks good. It looks fun. But I don't know. I don't know if that's how I want to game,
Well, I think that's the thing with VR is that they try to emulate that stuff is coming out to you for you to
But
touch.
VR puts you wherever they want you to be. They put you in Skyrim. They put you in the
Only
bottom
with
of
your
the
eyes.
ocean.
Only with your eyes.
No, they can do it with your
Nose?
dick. They can do it with your dick. They have that technology.
But with HoloLens and some haptic stuff, I think you can actually engage and touch and move stuff around in 3D space, right? You can manipulate. So I'm thinking of what was that Frontier space game that just came out?
Elite?
Yeah, I'm thinking of Elite Dangerous, where you had to kind of look around with your eyes or with the mouse, and you'd be looking at different things, and you'd press buttons and stuff like that with the mouse. Now you could actually just look around with your head and interact with the buttons and see all of that stuff and keep flying.
I keep coming back to, remember the first time they unveiled Kinect and they had that sizzle reel where the
Right.
kid with the skateboard, my skateboard's in the game now, it's radical.
Yeah.
And like none of that stuff, literally none of the stuff in that sizzle video actually
Was
came
real,
to
yeah.
life.
I
know.
So I'm
Poor
a little-
fucking Milo sitting in a television somewhere in the back of Microsoft's storage facility. Right. Let me out of the television. Peter locked me in here 5 years
You
ago.
bring up a good point. Yes.
So if that stuff actually comes, if that stuff actually happens, I mean, the promise of HoloLens is amazing. The delivery, it's Microsoft. We'll see what they do with it over the next few years. But it's going to
Sure.
be a few years. Till
And
we-
that's
till
why-
they get to the Minority Report, kind of like that.
Right.
They can actually see my hands and tell what they're doing with enough accuracy. Like Kinect 2.0 still doesn't know what the hell I'm doing with my hands. It knows there's a hand
and,
here.
And they've certainly promised all of that stuff would be
Yeah.
improved.
Right, and that's why the Rift and Morpheus, those are the two. And I've not experienced the Vive yet, and we're going to have that at E3, which is supposed to be amazing, although it requires 30 cameras in your house, and it's going to take up 40 feet in your living room.
Wow.
I mean, that's going to be a big pain in the ass, although it looks really cool from what I keep hearing. But the experiences that I've had with the Rift and the Morpheus There is no question. I'm not questioning, am I going to enjoy this? I'm like, can I stay here for 2 more hours? Can you guys just leave this thing running? And can I just play Valkyrie, Eve Valkyrie we've been talking about for a long time. Dude, it's nuts. Like you're in there and you just want to stay, and I'm already sold. The question's going to be, can they sell enough of these things? Can they penetrate the market enough to make it a thing that sustains itself for a while and doesn't just become a really weird niche, crowd that's
So
into
what
it?
you're telling me is wear a hat on one of the days at E3.
Totally.
And just do the thing.
Could you also wear like a fake mustache?
And I'll wear a mustache.
So no one knows who you are, just
So
like
I will masquerade as
My name is
Inspector-
Lucas Victor. I'm here to see your
No, I'll be
Morpheus.
Inspector Clouseau. Hello, I'm here to see your Project Morpheus. All right, I will do that. It is going to be a grand E3. I think 2015 is going to be a sensational year, and I think we have much to be excited about as nerds and fans of all of this stuff. And it feels good to have video games back so strong, right?
I feel like they're on the comeback trail, man.
Yeah.
Comeback trail.
All right, well, I think E3 2015 is going to be phenomenal. I think that this is going to be an incredible year to be nerds and fans of all of this stuff across a lot of media, but video games, it's great to have them back so strong, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to this year. We couldn't say that last year, and I'm happy. I feel happy. I'm going to E3 happy.
Yeah.
I'll be super grumpy by the end of the week, but I'm going into E3 happy.
Yeah.
That's better than last year. We were all
Exactly.
grumpy going
We were
into
grumpy
the
on day
show,
one.
Yeah.
and then it was like, oh, there's a couple things here that are all right. Now I think we are excited.
Okay, one game you want to see at E3.
That we haven't talked about
Yes.
yet, Fallout 4.
Yeah, that's up. It has to be Fallout 4.
Unanimous. Fallout 4. We got to see it. All right. Thanks, guys. Stitcher. We'll see you next week on Vic's Basement. Vic's Basement would like to thank its sponsors, EB Games, Nintendo, Xbox, and Gameloft, makers of Dragon Mania Legends, which you can play for free right now.